Hello, hello. Hold up a second. I'm getting my everything set up. Hey, how are ya? How are you, no one? Because no one is here yet. I decided to do just sort of an on the spot live. Um, I was going to shoot this as a video, and then I thought, what the hell? I'll do it live because if I happen to catch somebody, oops, hold on. If I happen to catch somebody, watching, it would be nice to have a little bit of interplay, particularly if you know who I'm talking about here, and you can ask questions and that kind of stuff. So, what I'm going to do today is look at the chart of a famous person. I've been wanting to do this for a while, but it's always hard to figure out who to look at. And I don't want to go to the, old school, like Marilyn Monroe famous people, although I may do her chart at some point because it's fascinating. But this one came kind of to the forefront as my first reaction to somebody's chart, because this guy is high on the radar right now. And I'm talking about Burnham. He has a special on Netflix right now called Inside. I have been aware of this guy since the early 2000s, since, not too long after he hit YouTube, through my kids, my daughter who was in middle school, and my son as well. They were crazy about him. So I've been seeing his videos for a long time. And then, of course, there's been a gap of many years where I haven't seen anything, and there's a good reason for that. I don't know, like, his life story. I only looked up a couple of key points, um, to get dates of events. But other than that, I didn't go through and like really read his history or anything because I really want my reaction to be his chart, just looking at his chart. So if anybody jumps on here, either during the live or once it's gone to video, and you have specific questions or specific things that you know that you'd like me to look at, I can do that too. So anyhow, let's look at his chart. Let me get me out the way. Out the way. Ooh, and that's not going to work either. Hold on. You go here, and you go there. All right. Now, you should see. Now I got to do this. All righty. So here is his chart, and hold on one second. Again, his birth data, in case you want to chart along with me, is he was born. Okay, wait a minute. I needed to get that out of my way. All right, so he was born August 21st, which is also my sister's birthday, 1990 at 2:10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time in Hamilton, Massachusetts. So here's the chart, and I put it on what's called a beginner's page uh, in my software, which I use SolarFire, because of this amazing chart down at the bottom. So when I read charts, I go from the general into the specific. And the most general way to look at a chart is through the breakdown of the elements and modes. So this little bottom right bar graph, we have the elements on top and the modes on the bottom. And this is the first place where we can see a standout in the chart. Another little advertisement here. If you are on my Patreon at the priestess level, which is the middle level, you get exclusive content every month. And last month and this month, the content that I put out is about chart standouts. It's a checklist, a pecking order of what makes planets stand out above other ones in a chart. And he's got several. So let's, those will pop up as we look at the chart, but let's look down at the bottom right. And another disclaimer, sorry, gang. Another disclaimer. Charts need people to validate them. A chart isn't something that exists on its own. It is a snapshot in time of an event in an actual person's life. Now, everywhere all over the planet, every second of every day, someone is being born. But they're being born in different parts of the planet, so it's not like in one location you've got all of the possible charts, you know, reflected in the people. It doesn't work that way. But and this is kind of a meandering way to say that without a person's lived life, a chart is just a chart. The person is the one that says, here are the choices I've made about this chart. A chart represents a broad range of potentials, and those potentials, you know, cover a lot of ground. So it takes the actual person sitting there to acknowledge the potentials and go, here's how it manifested in my life, or here is the choice that I made with that. Okay, here's how my lived experience has shaped the potentials in that chart to kind of solidify them into the person I am at this moment. All right. So here we go, back to these little bar graphs, and there's a standout here. You might look at this second line down from the top one, this, you know, really strong green line, and think that's a standout. It is, kinda. What I will say in general is we have a chart signature, so when you look at this bold green bar, that represents the element of earth, and when you look at this light blue bar at the bottom, that represents the mutable mode. And the signature, the sign that has the signature of mutable earth is Virgo. So this chart does have a chart signature, and that is the signature of Virgo. So overall, this person is going to be practical. Overall, this person is going to be flexible, more flexible than not. He does have a good bit of fixity, which gives him the ability to see things through. So he can adapt to circumstances. He can also have enough stubbornness and stick-to-itiveness to see things through because of the amount of fixity. Where his shortfall is in getting things started, all right? But up at the top under the elements is where we really see the standouts, and I'm not talking about the earth, I'm talking about the blank under air, okay? 0 air and very, very little water. Now, knowing that this person is a performer and a songwriter, and how gifted he is with words. I mean, if you've experienced any of his material from like way back until the newest special, you're thinking, how could there not be air? This man's mind obviously never stops. Now, a lack of air in a chart doesn't mean somebody's a dunce. It doesn't mean they're stupid. It doesn't mean they can't think. It doesn't mean they don't have an intellect. It just means that is not at all how they approach life. Not at all from the intellectual standpoint. All right? And the standout in Earth says that how they approach life, just as far as personality traits, is they are eminently grounded and practical. Just grounded and practical. And he does have a fair amount of fire too. So he's passionate, but he immediately is saying, what can I do with this? How can I use this? How can I use this energy? It's utilitarian, very practical. So not a lot of like, you know, mental gymnastics going on about things. Inspiration comes, how can I put it into practical form? All right. Very little water says that he also doesn't meet life from an emotional standpoint. He certainly has emotions. Again, no water doesn't mean somebody's cold as a stone. It just means sometimes they can have an issue processing emotional information, or really recognizing that these are feelings that need to be worked through. Again, it's not how they meet life. They don't meet life with emotional reaction. Okay, they meet life from a practical standpoint. Okay. Now, looking at the actual chart, first of all, we have a solitary Mars sticking out here all by itself. Jupiter and Saturn are the ones that delineate the like bisection of the chart here. Ignore Chiron up at the top, ignore the North Node down at the bottom. Those are not planets. So Mars standing out says this dude has energy to burn. Go, 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 go. Lots of physical energy. It's in Taurus in his 6th house. I have Mars in Taurus in my 6th house. It means that you work in a practical way. Mars in a fixed sign says he can work over a long haul. Okay, that he can stick to something and just get work done over a very long period of time. Next standout I'm seeing here is planets conjuncting angles, planet conjuncting angle. He actually has two. Mercury sits right here in the midheaven. Okay, do you know what Mercury represents? The mind, the intellect, how the mind works. So obviously there's a big standout here with his intellect. So a planet conjuncting an angle, which are these bright lines, the horizontal line, and then this tilty one going up and down. When you have a planet within 7 degrees or more or less, depending on the planet, either side of those lines, it brings that planet into high focus. The fact that it's up at the top of the chart and that that line is the midheaven makes it even more highly focused because the planets are elevated in the chart, literally. And we have Mercury and the moon here. So those two shortfalls of mind, you know, the intellectual energy and emotional energy, we bring the planets that rule the mind and that rule emotions into high focus. So this is a compensatory factor for those goose eggs in the elements. So obviously, his mind is very active. His mind is at the forefront of things because of Mercury conjuncting the angle. And what is Mercury in Virgo? Mercury rules Virgo. It rules that midheaven. So the Virgo midheaven says that it's, Virgo pursuits, which is all about processing. It's about analyzing, synthesizing, working things through. How does this work? So that's where his intellectual energy is in curiosity about how things work. If I take them apart, so analyzing. If you listen to his material, it's all about, he analyzes things, and he analyzes with humor. He picks things apart and then filters it through his humor and gives it back to us in the form of absolutely brilliant music. Where does this show up? Well, look at his rising sign, Sagittarius. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Both of those are all about humor, having fun. So his outer personality is fun-loving, blunt. Comedians say the things that we won't allow ourselves to say out loud. Comedians are the jesters and the jokers that are allowed to tell the emperor he has no clothes to his face and not get killed, right? So this is his whole, how he presents. Remember that the ascendant is how you present to the world as opposed to your inner self. I'm just pulling up something here to see if there's anybody actually on the stream with me here. 2 watching. Check in if you're watching. I'd love to know who's here. Okay. So, Jupiter ruling the chart. Jupiter sits in Leo. 0 degrees of Leo, which 0 degrees is a critical degree. It's when the planet first makes its entry into that sign. Jupiter is the expansion principle. Leo is what? The performer. The performer. So there he is. His personality is one that he can take out onto the stage and let people see him, right? Okay, let's look at, I want to look at his Mercury again. It trines Saturn, which says that he has the ability to structure his mind, his musings. Let's mention also that Mercury in Virgo worries. I also have Mercury in Virgo sitting on my midheaven. Holy shit. I honestly did not look at this ahead of time, you guys, but I have the same Mars position. I have the same Mercury position as he does. Mercury and Mars trine. I have the same thing. This is the ability to communicate in practical terms, to communicate in specific terms, to analyze, to synthesize, all of those things. But it also can make you a turbo worrier. The trine just means there's ease and flow. So Mars energizes. He's got an energized mind, a mind that chews things over constantly. Mercury in Virgo can be twitchy, can be, need something to do with the hands, can be busy all the time, a lot of nervous energy. With Mars trining, that just says supercharge that. So there's a lot of nervous energy here. as well, and a very, very active mind. But there's also the ability to structure that mind. Now, you notice I've just talked about 2 planets that are trining Mercury, which gives us an Earth grand trine. All right? A grand trine gives an area of talent. It's shit tons of talent right off the bat. All right? Because trines are talent. You put them in configuration together, and it's just a wad of talent. His is very practical. So in the Earth element, a grand trine is about manifesting, about creating something that I can put my hand to. So this is a setup for an achiever, a very active mind with the ability to structure, discipline, and set goals. That's Saturn. Saturn trining Mars gives the ability to rein in those energies. And Saturn sits in its own sign of Capricorn, so he's got to have a goal, he's got to achieve. Mars trining that says, I've got the energy to push forward and achieve. Okay, let's look at the moon as well, and notice that the moon also takes a trine from Neptune. Here's where the music comes in, folks. Moon, Venus, Neptune, involvements like that, Venus in Pisces, Moon, Neptune, Venus, Neptune, all of those talk about the arts. So let's also look at the fact, let's see what we've got with Venus. Venus inconjuncts Neptune, and the moon trines Neptune. So both of these things talk about musical talent. The fact that the moon is focalized, sitting on the midheaven, brings, this into higher focus. Let's see here. Neptune rules his 4th house, so talking about his emotional underpinnings. There's either, let me take a look here. That's a trine, that's a sextile, that's an inconjunct. All right, we don't have Neptune afflicting anything or afflicted by anything. And Neptune can be just a bitch, because I speak from experience there as well. But Neptune ruling the 4th house can talk about possibly an atmosphere where there was a lot of spirituality or arts in his upbringing, in his family of origin. Maybe there was an appreciation of the arts. Certainly there's an adjustment with the inconjunct. Neptune and Venus need to be adjusted, the energies. So Venus is affection, what we like, what we take pleasure in. It's the senses, it's how we show affection. In Leo, he would show affection very dramatically and romantically. There'd be no doubt that he likes you if he likes you. And Neptune being the dissolver, being the thing that dissolves boundaries, brings things into union. So the adjustment he would have to make is being aware that he can lose himself in relationship, that when he loves someone, when he's showing affection, feeling affection for someone, Neptune could kind of dissolve the boundaries there. So in a good sense, he'd really be able to bond with somebody. In a bad sense, he could sort of lose his own boundaries and his own sense of self-worth there. But there just needs to be an adjustment between the affection he gives and knowing where the boundaries are with that. Okay, let me see what else we have here. Sun in Leo, of course, just a natural performer. Jupiter in Leo. So his chart ruler is in Leo, and his sun is also in Leo. So this guy is going to be a performer, hands down, all the way across. Sun in the 9th house brings in a lot of philosophy. I also have my sun in the 9th house in Leo. Hey, Bo, how you doing? So sun in the 9th house in Leo just says that you really, your identity is about spirituality and understanding. You want to understand how the world works, and you would be an adventurer on all levels, as far as like traveling, being interested in other cultures, being interested in other spiritualities, in other philosophies. Definitely someone that is here to expand their horizons and their understanding, and to study. I don't even know what his educational background is, but this would be somebody that would be really down with higher education, with both sun and moon in the 9th house. Moon in the 9th house says that his security is derived from his understanding. And sitting in Virgo, again, that brings nervousness, that brings worry. So the moon there says that I derive my security from really the study of different cultures, different philosophies. That makes me feel secure knowing that I can look at all of these things. Okay. So the things that I want to bring out as far as timing goes, hold up. The first one is, and I now need to make this, okay, I'm going to have to fart around with my program for a hot second here, if you will indulge me. We are going to do, okay, so the outer wheel is the transits. Okay, here is a bi-wheel, and I'm going to animate this bi-wheel. Come back here. All right. We are animating this, and I want to go back several years. 5 years. 5 years and some months. Hold on here. I think it's actually 2015. No. Hold up. Yeah. All right. That's what I want to do. Is February of 2016. And let me back up just by a few days here. All right, February 24th, 2016 was the kickoff of his last tour. I think it was called Make Happy. And this is what he talks about in the Inside Special. He talks about doing this last tour and that he was starting to experience panic attacks on stage. So I wanted to look at the kickoff of this tour and see what we can discover here. What we see is we've got Neptune opposing his moon, and Uranus is in conjuncting. Let me see what else here. Uranus is squaring Saturn, exactly. We've got Pluto that had been transiting the Uranus Neptune. It's not a conjunction anymore in his chart, but this Uranus Neptune thing that the whole generation's got with those two together. So Uranus squaring Saturn is going to shake up his sense of control. Saturn is about control, limitation, responsibility, duty, kind of having your hands on the wheel. With Uranus squaring that, it really brings in, it just kind of is lightning striking your structure. Okay, Saturn is your structure and your routine. So, of course, going out on tour is going to shatter your structure and your routine. Anybody that has not experienced tour life, you know, vicariously or firsthand, there's this idea that, you know, performers that tour are living the royal life fantastic, and that you're, you know, going from one great hotel to another and you're seeing the world and all of these things, and it's exactly the opposite of that. Usually you're not staying in a hotel, you're staying in a you know, an RV or a bandwagon, and they're usually not ritzy. And you don't get to see anything but the inside of a venue. You see the inside of the bandwagon and the inside of a venue and maybe some fast food restaurants along the way, and you see a lot of road. But it's a rough life. It's upsetting. It's hard on the system. And so with Uranus squaring Saturn there, it just indicates that it really was a great upset of his, you know, his basic vibe being on the road like that. And I want to look at something again here. Yeah, Make Happy is 2016. 2015, 2016. Hold on one second. I was looking at like the tour dates. Hold on. Make happy tour. I want the dates. See if anybody's saying, oh, hi, Yeshua. All right. Who else is here? Check in, say hi. Okay, dates. I just want to make sure I've got the correct thing up here. 2015. Oh, okay, we're off by a year. Hold on. 2015. There we go. So we have Uranus now squaring Neptune. Neptune rules his fourth house. Fourth house also indicates where you derive your security from. It talks about upheaval to the home because fourth house is real estate, your home environment. So that says that gets all upheaved. We've got Moon in conjuncting Uranus, so that also indicates an upheaval of security. Moon talks about where you derive your security. It's your habits, it's your daily routines. Let's see what else. And Uranus is also in conjuncting Pluto, which rules his 12th house. 12th house is the subconscious. Uranus in conjuncting there says that this upset of routine caused him to make adjustments emotionally. His security needed adjusted. It's also bringing up subconscious stuff, so that would require adjustment as well. Let's see what else we got. Venus opposing the North Node. So, Venus, okay, that would say that the things that give him comfort and delight do not show him the way forward. So this can talk about, the way forward being an extremely discomfortable thing. All right. That is natal. Okay, the Venus opposed North Node is in his natal chart. We've got Mercury opposing Venus in Aquarius. Okay, so kind of setting the stage for the kickoff of this tour. So this is kind of the natal chart of that tour, actually. With Mercury in Aquarius opposing Venus, it says that the upheaval in his mind, that mental energy gets really erratic, and that is in direct opposition to his feelings of comfort and enjoyment. So it looks like this tour was not quite an enjoyable thing. It kicked off with Saturn conjuncting his ascendant, saying that he felt it as extreme limitation on himself. It was hard on his physical body. Saturn in the first house says restriction of physical body, limitation, issues with the physical body. So all in all, just a super uncomfortable setup. We have Mars squaring his natal Uranus. Uranus is the third house of mental function. Mars squaring that says his mind was just going berserk. All right? So this can give us an indication of just the upheaval that came along. And look at the moon here. The moon is a trigger. On the day that, in this natal chart of the tour, moon was conjuncting Mars, which is a triggering thing. Moon in transit can be a triggering factor. Mars rules fifth house, which is all about fun and pleasure. So there was, anticipation that this is going to be a fun time, certainly going into it with that emotional set of I'm going to have fun here. Mars also co-rules the 12th house. It also kicks up a lot of subconscious stuff. So let's just say, and let's see, how old was he? 25, 24 and a half when this chart kicked off. And then the tour was what made him decide that he wasn't touring anymore because of the panic attacks. So we talked about all these Uranian aspects that were coming in. Uranus squaring Neptune, Mars squaring his natal Uranus, Mercury sitting in Aquarius, opposing natal Venus. So these Uranian Aquarian things coming up, what these indicate is just upheaval. You know, Uranus by transit's energy is disruptive, unexpected, erratic. Ugh. Uranus rules anxiety. Mercury and Uranus in the natal chart of this tour talks about mental anxiety, and he's prone anyway with that Mercury and Virgo sitting on the midheaven. So, so let's look at where he's at now. Let's look at, I think it was May when this special came out, and kind of see where he's at now. We've got Neptune exactly opposing, I'm just checking my dates here to make sure I'm not lying and doing something wrong. Neptune is directly opposing his Mercury right now, ruling his midheaven. So he still could be going through some things where he feels like his career is morphing, changing, dissolving, where it's just hard to get a grip on things. Neptune throws confusion in. Neptune transiting the fourth house can mean that some weirdness happens around the home, or maybe, you know, in extreme cases, somebody could find themselves homeless or finding themselves just feeling sort of unmoored, you know, without like an underpinning of security. Let's see what else we got here. Transiting Sun. I don't know if I have a whole lot more to say about that right now. Pluto is still working its way through his second house. So Pluto going across this, there's a wide stellium. And no, I'm not even going to call it a stellium. So you see these three planets sitting here in Capricorn in the second house. That is not a stellium. Why? Because Uranus is 5 degrees, Saturn is 19 degrees. That's a 14-degree separation. That is well outside of orb, even between Uranus and Neptune, because those are two outer planets. They need to be within 2 degrees to be in a conjunction, even in a natal chart. They are not even conjunct. So that's not a stellium. It's just a grouping in the second house, meaning that second house affairs, money is very important to him. And with a grand earth trine, practicality and money would certainly be important to him. So I would think that it's always been a strong motivator to him, you know, when the passion kicks up, when the fire kicks up, it's all about, how do I turn this into money? How do I turn this into success? How do I turn this into something I can put my hand to, something I can put a title to, something that can bring me some success? Hey, Sam. Hi, honey. You're here. Yay. So yeah, I'm not sure I have an awful lot more to say about it, but I thought it would be an interesting exercise, and I thought I would find out if anyone is interested in this type of content. What I think I'm going to do once this converts to video is pull it down and edit it a little bit and slap it back up just as a video. So if you have been here watching this, if you just slipped in, watch when it comes up for a video. Tell me what you think of it. If you enjoy this, please tell me whose chart you would like me to look at. All right? There are conditions, because I have to be able to get an actual natal chart. I can do what I do with the new and full moon charts, which is take the house cusps away and just purely look at planets. But it's not as much fun, and it's not as accurate, and it doesn't show me, for instance, when I'm looking at planets conjuncting angles, there can be, you know, a big standout in somebody's chart with a planet sitting on an angle, but I can't see that because I don't have the house cusps. At any rate, if there is a celebrity, someone in the news, whatever, they can be currently relevant or not, that you would like me to look at their natal chart, in particular if you have specific questions about them, you want to know why they're a particular way, let me know that down below. All right? And this could be an Astrologer Reacts series in the making. It depends on, you know, who stands out to me. Not so much institutions. The problem there is the birth chart. You know, does somebody have a court paper they can show me saying this is the exact minute of this date that this was incorporated? Then I don't have an accurate chart. So I prefer being a natal astrologer, not a mundane. Mundane astrology deals with countries and institutions and things that aren't people. I'm a natal astrologer. I deal with people. So I would prefer it being a person's chart. You know, that's my area of expertise. I mean, I'm not averse to a wank and to just, you know, trying something out for the fun of it. But again, it's the same thing with the US chart. I don't really look at things in terms of the US chart because which one do you use? So I don't really do that. Anyhow, if you enjoyed it, if you would like a reaction to another celebrity's chart, let me know and I will do that for you. All right, you guys, if you've been hanging out with me here, I really appreciate you hanging out. Hold on, I gotta do funny things here to make sure that I don't, that I don't lop off the end of this. All right. Anyhow, thanks for hanging out with me for such a short time. I will see you tomorrow night for a live stream. Today's Tuesday? Yeah. I will see you tomorrow night for a live stream. Until then, it's Luna.